Good afternoon. Welcome to, this is the last meeting of the South Central Pennsylvania Genealogical Society for this program year. It's also our Henry James Young Award meeting, which is always an exciting time that we will be presenting this award to some very deserving individuals. My name is Jonathan Stair, and I'm president of this organization. With your permission, we are going to skip the reading of the minutes, treasurer's report, and all the boring stuff. And get right into a couple things here. I want to start by, first of all, introducing our guest of honor, Steve Smith, one of our award recipients. And the other gentleman, Dr. Roger Wilson, happened to, unbeknownst to us when we scheduled a trip overseas, so he's probably having a great time right now.
Yeah.
Are there anybody else here for the first time? Never been here before? Okay, so welcome everybody. Adam's going to have one or two things from the library. You want to share that with us quickly? Sure.
Hello, everyone. I was asked to keep it very brief, so usually we have this long laundry list of upcoming events, but primarily I'm going to keep it to just two things. If I could start with just one thing, we have a sign-up sheet here on this table on the right-hand side. If you're interested, if you've never reached out to us before and you want to be on our email list, that's a great way to do it. So, first thing, this coming Wednesday is the meeting of the York Civil War Roundtable. Before they go on a 2-month hiatus in July and August. So their final meeting before September is this coming Wednesday, and Jim McClure will be presenting something called York County in the Civil War 2. He did one last year, I think. So that meeting will start at 7 p.m. this coming Wednesday night. That's the Civil War Roundtable in this room. The second thing is, you might be aware this is the 250th anniversary of the United States. Our Revolutionary York exhibit will open up in that room right over there, officially on July 3rd from 5 till 7 p.m. And I think we are still taking reservations for that. It is a timed event because we have limited availability for crowds to move through that space. So if you're interested, please go on our website. And like I said, it's officially opening 5 to 7 p.m. on the 3rd of July. However, it will be open all day on the 4th of July from 10 until 4 p.m. And also every time that the museum is open until December of 2028. So you'll have plenty of time to view Revolutionary York. But if you want to see it, if you want to be the first one in, check out our website. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Margaret, where's Margaret? Do you want to say anything about the deceased members?
Yes, we're gonna say something about it.
You want to do that now?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Okay, as treasurer, we're still solid, so no problem. We'll have a report for you in August. I don't have any vacations planned, so. Okay, just wanted to make a note. We had a life member pass away, Harold Anderson, and he had born October 5th, 1938, and passed away May 1st of 26. He retired a colonel in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard in 1992 after serving 35 years. And then we also had another member. I wasn't sure how long, but his number was 049, B 049. So I know he's been here quite a while. And the Bs were up around 200 now. And that was Donald Boyer, who had passed away. So I just wanted to say about that. And then I just want to say one other thing. So hang on a minute. Take a look here at a little bit of business. Okay, Since this is Jonathan's last meeting as president for this time, I think it's his second time around, and for the 4 years in that. I just wanted to have us as a members in that say a little thank you to Jonathan. And I also thought that I owe Jonathan something because he really kept us on point. He micromanages, but he does a great job at it. So when he mentions something, it's not just once. He mentions them over 5 or 6 times. So Jonathan, if you'd open up the package.
Your little packet. His little package.
That's what I think it is. Oh, Margaret, you didn't.
6 times. And I thought, well, there's no way that this would be the most perfect thing to give him for to say thank you for how he kept us going for the last 4 years. Really, really good. It is the at the library quilt.
The story behind this is Margaret had a quilt like this that was raffled at the 50th anniversary celebration last fall, and my wife so admired it and so disappointed when she didn't win it. And I'm mentioning it to Margaret. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much. This was totally expected.
That you would, this is being that it was. And I tried 2 weeks ago, he called for some reason, or I talked to him for some reason, and that will Sherry be coming to the meeting? No, Sherry's not coming to the meeting. So then I talked to him this week and I kind of mentioned it again, and he said, no, Sherry has some plans on Sunday, so he gets to surprise her now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, yeah. That's what, to say thank you to Jonathan.
Now, that was not planned or expected, all right? But thank you very much, and thank you, Margaret. I do admire her work with quilts. And I think we also, most of us got coasters that she made at the 50th anniversary. So Margaret's great with those types of things. I just want to go over a couple quick things before we get into our Henry James Young Award program. For those of you who are helping, don't forget that we are going to have a table at the Palatine's to America Conference in Lancaster at the end of this week. If you have not volunteered but would still like to volunteer, we could certainly use you. Just see me. But if you have volunteered already, you should be getting an email from me probably tomorrow laying out some final details. The Hanover Historical Society, I contacted them about a program next year, and they got back to me saying fine, but they are looking for people to help them with research, particularly researching families and that type of thing in the Hanover area. So if you are interested in volunteering at the Hanover Historical Society, please get in touch with them. Also coming up on July the 14th, you may have been hearing about the archaeological dig out Camp Security this spring. On July the 14th, the Chief Archaeologist, John Crawler, will be presenting the results of this year's excavation at the Spring Prairie Township Building at 7 o'clock. So people keep on asking me, what are you finding out there? Well, I'm not sure what we're finding, but John will explain it all on July the 14th. On July the 1st, I stepped down as president and become vice president. My job as vice president is to arrange programs. And I have a full list of programs for the coming program year, which we'll see in the newsletter, but I thought I'd go over them quickly. On August the 30th, which will be our first meeting of the next program year, we will be having a tour of the exhibit that Adam just mentioned, led by Nicole Smith, who was one of the key people in that exhibit. So she'll be able to answer any question you have about why they chose what they did, what it means, and so forth. And trust me, she sweated over that because she and I quibbled over every word that they use for the camp security part of it. So that's August 30th. October 4th, Greg Huber from Eastern Barn Consultants will be speaking about York County barns. November the 1st, John Dietz will be speaking about the history, beliefs, and practices of the Old Order River Brethren. You may not know, but the Old Order River Brethren, as far as I know, is the only religious denomination founded in York County. And they used to be known as the Yorkers for that reason, because their origin is in York County. They are plain dressing, and John will, he is a member of the Over River Brethren, and he will come and talk about their history and a little bit about their beliefs, so you can ask him questions at that time. He made the mistake of sitting by me at a meeting a couple months ago, and he said, "Oh, I'm doing a history of the Over River Brethren." I said, "Oh, yeah, they're called Yorkers, right?" That fits right in with the South Central's programs, and so he agreed to do a program for us. January the 3rd of 2027, Lydia Stair, who is a special education teacher in York County, also happens to be my daughter, is going to do something called, she creatively titled this, "Give Me Liberty or Give Me Lunch." I asked her, she's very into baking and cooking. So she researched a couple Revolutionary War recipes. It's going to make them and bring the food here for us to sample. And then she's going to talk a little bit about the ingredients that were available and how she did it and so forth. It should be interesting because she's not a historian. She doesn't really care that much about history, but she's really excited about this. And as you can tell from my girth, I'm already getting to sample some of her testings of things that she's finding. So that's January the 3rd. February the 7th of next year, Steve Milt from the Young Center at Elizabethtown College will speak to us about Pennsylvania Mennonites and the Revolutionary War. March the 7th of next year is we call our annual show and tell. I'm entitling it Revolutionary Roots, and I want you to be thinking starting now about your favorite Revolutionary War ancestor or your favorite resource or something. I'm going to be bringing in a copy of a record that relates to the man who built that organ. So think of something and bring it with it. It doesn't have to be about the Revolutionary War, but I'd like that maybe be that focus. April 4th, we're going to tour the Hanover Historical Society Library, and depending on what the board decides at a coming meeting, we may also be touring their museum and mansion as well. There's an additional charge for that. We need to discuss that. May the 2nd will be a tour of Winston Presbyterian Church down near Airville. The church and the congregation date prior to the Revolutionary War, or I should say, old church building dates prior to the Revolutionary War. And then we're going to conclude the program year of next year on June the 13th with Ben Workley, who's going to be talking about his research on women and children at camp security, which he's really been working on. So those are the programs that are coming up. We're going to keep that list in the newsletter each time so you can kind of know what's coming and get your friends and neighbors to turn out and get excited about each program.
And it's on the website now.
And it's on the website right now. And one thing I'm going to try to do is the newsletter comes out before each meeting is give you a little bit more information about that particular meeting program. So it's what's in the newsletter now, maybe only a capsule of what may be coming up in the newsletter in the future. This time I'd like to have Richard Kunkel, our Vice President, come and MC our Henry James Young Awards. Yes.
I can tell you what they've been finding at Camp Security because I've been finding them.
What did you find?
They found redware, they found pottery that had tin on it, they found other pottery, they found nail, yes, and actually I found a nail here, okay? Right? Charcoal, and charcoal, and there's some pieces.
Good, because I've been digging out there and I haven't been finding a thing. So,
I wasn't want to roll again, yeah.
okay, good. Oh, yes, thank you, Gene. This coming Saturday, if you would like, we are having a public visitation day at the dig site. It's right off of Locust Grove Road, about halfway between East Market Street and East Prospect Road. There are flags marking the entrance there. It starts at 10 o'clock and runs to 12 noon. You have to park right off the road, and then we shuttle you down to the site with four-wheel drive so nobody gets stuck down in the dirt or the mud. And this will be an opportunity for you to come see the actual dig in operation, hear what the archaeologist has to say, and get an idea of what the landscape looks like out there if you haven't been out there before. So, yes, Margaret.
One thing I forgot to mention, to let everybody know that our indexes have been put online now for all of the publications. So it's all, you're able to get into the indexes, except for a couple of ones that we have to still work on, and that thanks to Lynn, she set it up, she got us to do it, and it should be really great now that they can see the index.
And thanks to the help of Margaret and Richard R, because they did actually all the work. I just put it on the website.
So
Team effort.
we really took a step forward with that.
Yes, thank you, everyone. I'm only turning red because I had volunteered help with that, and they got it done before I had a chance to do it. All right, now I'm gonna have Richard come and tell us about Henry James Young.
Thank you, Jonathan. Henry James Young, the namesake of this award, was born on February the 16th, 1908, here in York. He was the eldest of 4 children of James A. Young and his wife, Mary E. Hess. His father's family was from York County, and his mother was a native of Bainbridge, Lancaster County. In 1912, the family moved to New Jersey for his father to get a good managerial position. Henry's mother became overwhelmed and incapacitated and was institutionalized in a state hospital in New Jersey, where she remained for the rest of her life. James Young, father of Henry, and his young family had to return to York to live with the grandparents. The 2 elder children were then sent to live with strangers, and the younger children stayed with the family. During much of his youth, Henry Young was reared by Charles and Marie Pollack of York. The Pollacks were a family of longtime watch and clock makers and had a jewelry store across from the courthouse on Market Street. They lived on Villa Terrace in Spring Garden Township. And from 1922 to 1926, Henry Young was placed at the Hoffman Orphanage in Adams County, Pennsylvania. He returned to York in the Pollack family, where he spent 2 years preparing for college at William Penn Senior High School. He then attended and graduated in 1932 from Franklin and Marshall College in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, with a degree in history. His intent in college had been to become a teacher, but when he graduated, the nation was in the depths of the Great Depression, and teaching positions were few and far between. Being very much unemployed, Henry Young had the opportunity to make frequent visits to the Historical Society of York County at their then headquarters on the 3rd floor of the York County Courthouse. It so happened that in 1933, the society was in need of having the early church registers of Christ Lutheran Church in York translated. Henry was hired to do the job, and his good work resulted in a full-time position. He worked for the Historical Society of York County as a researcher and later as director during the years 1933 to 1942, and intermittently during the years 1951 to 1957. It was during Henry Young's tenure at the Historical Society that the society moved out of the courthouse and into the Billmeyer House on East Market Street. Henry Young translated many more church records and instituted the vast vital statistic card file, which has proved so useful to genealogists. He compiled many genealogical family reports and volumes on York County and the American Revolution, as well as assisting with the York and Adams County cemetery surveys. His efforts and foresight in those years created the basis of the current library of the York County History Center, which is, of course, as any of you have used it, is a wonderful collection. Dr. Henry Young served in the U.S. Army during the Second World War from 1942 to 1945. As a result of his military service, through the GI Bill, it enabled him to continue his education after the war. He prepared for his doctorate at the Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore from 1946 to 1955. From 1946 to 1949, he was the roommate of Dr. Charles H. Gladfelder, who was also preparing for his doctorate. Henry Young's dissertation was entitled "The Treatment of the Loyalists in Pennsylvania." While still preparing his dissertation, he worked from 1951 to 1957 as an archivist at Pennsylvania State Archives in Harrisburg. Henry James Young was a professor of history at Dickinson College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, from 1957 until his retirement in 1973, and was known to many of his students as Tiger Young. He spent a sabbatical year studying at Mansfield College at Oxford University in the United Kingdom. After retiring, Dr. Young returned to genealogy. He was an early life member of the South Central Pennsylvania Genealogical Society and took an active interest in our activities. Henry compiled a number of books on his own families and on the families of his foster family, the Polacks of York. Mrs. Polak was of New England stock, and several of her ancestral lines he traced back to the Emperor Charlemagne. While pursuing these Carolingian lines, he did considerable and important research in medieval genealogy. About 1985, he moved to the Saratoga retirement home, adjoining the Dickinson College campus. It was here that many of us became acquainted or reacquainted with Henry Young. In 1989, during the spring of my freshman year at Dickinson College, I was encouraged to call and visit him. I became a frequent visitor. My visits there were as educational as they were enjoyable. At about that time, he renewed old ties with the Historical Society of York County, and a number of South Central Pennsylvania Genealogical Society members began visiting him, including Al Rose, Lori Offenbach, David Hively, June Lloyd, and Betty Brown, among others. For the library, Henry began translating and transcribing onto vital statistics cards a number of Roman Catholic and other church records. He filled out many thousands of vital statistic cards and continued to dedicate much of his time to translating records until the final year of his life, when illness prevented him from further activity. He passed away on February the 11th, 1995 in Carlisle. His final resting place is the burial plot of his great-grandparents, William and Margaret Strine Wolfe, on the highest point of Prospect Hill Cemetery, overlooking his native York. Anyone who has used to any extent the library of the York County History Center has certainly seen or heard of his name and used records which he created or started. His influence on York County genealogy and history was so extensive that the South Central Pennsylvania Genealogical Society named its award for distinguished accomplishments to local history and genealogy the Henry James Young Award. And I would direct your attention, we have a very nice picture of Henry from the time between 1933 and 1941 or 2 when he was director at the Historical Society of York County. And he sort of looked like that when he was older, a little less hair, but he had a wonderful sense of humor. He was a wonderful individual to know, and certainly a very good, excellent researcher. So at this time, I think we will have Erica give a presentation about our first recipient today.
Okay, I met Roger Wilson many years ago through the Stewartstown Area Historical Society and had come to see him as a well-versed person in the history of the southern end of York County. While Roger sees his cousin Ron Wilson as the genealogist of the family, I know that Roger Wilson is descended from the Hyson family and quite familiar with the spread of his family trees. The family reunions meant getting in line. This would have been when he was probably in his early teens, getting in line for a Reese's peanut butter cup from H.B. Reese himself, who was a direct relative. In 1947, I guess I should back up, his family, immediate family, was in Phoenix. I think that's where his mother's family was. So in 1947, Roger's family moved from Phoenix, Arizona to York County, PA, and settled on a 229-acre farm, which was abutted by the Muddy Creek near Bridgeton. Excuse me, I forgot my books. Oh, Roger's books. Okay. He had 5 siblings. And they all, well, not the first, the last one was just a little tight, but they all had to work on the farm. He graduated from Kennerdale High School and afterwards served 4 years in the United States Air Force. After this, he attended Millersville State Teachers College to make his professional life teaching. Roger taught 4th grade and later 6th grade for a total of 20 years at Delta Peach Bottom Elementary School in the Southern Eastern School District. He became an assistant professor of science education at Millersville University and taught there for 7 years. And later he taught part-time at Towson University. The first book that he wrote was a retrospect of his family life growing up in Bridgeton on that 229-acre farm. It is a really endearing book with all kinds of little vignettes of what happened over between the time of 47 to 58. Great sense of humor. I think his whole family did. I'd like to read the back here. Nan, who was his grandmother, and Pappy, Mom's parents, made several visits to the farm from their home in Phoenix, Arizona. During one of the visits, Nan wrote a letter to her other daughter, our Aunt Donna Jean, back in Phoenix. One pithy comment was quite revealing about how Nan felt about things going on at the farm. Now, Nan was always known as a worker and boss. It was frequently said that when Nan worked, everybody worked. Describing the farm, Nan told Donna Jean that the trouble with this place is too much ice cream and not enough paint. Yeah, and it's a very endearing book. So he wrote that in 1999. The next book that he was associated with was Center Presbyterian Church History. And I don't know if you've been to New Park and seen the Dempwood Church. It's just exquisite. So he was an editor along with the minister. And I asked him about, how much did the minister do? And he goes, well, not too much. But Roger was really good about getting information, or is very good. And so he said it was just really a collaboration with the church that he edited this. Okay, the next book is the one that came up at one of our programs a couple months ago about the slate industry in Delta. And so Roger and 3 other men collaborated and put this book together. Are all of you familiar with this? I can pass it around if you want. I'm going to pass the books around and take a look.
That's a fantastic book.
It is.
Yeah, I have a copy. And that's in a second edition. So it's out there and still popular. And then I said that he's on the board and then just very active with Stewartstown Historical Society. He does the newsletter there. And so he worked on book 2. This is a series that is 5 books. There was one that was just an overview, and then they started actually numbering them. So he worked on this one, and that it was a collaborative. And then the book that was really important to the work that he did over the years, being an elementary school teacher for 20 years, he
loved children, and he was very fascinated with the country schools. Now, of course, like this 47, I'm not sure how close that was to consolidation, whether he went to a one room schoolhouse or not, but he and Catherine Jordan got together and they put this book together, which is just fantastic. It's all the schools, the one room schoolhouses in the southeastern school district. Take a look at it. So those are 4 of the books that he's very proud of. Roger has given numerous programs over the years on one-room schools. One in particular, which was posted by Stephen H. Smith on his York's Past column in 2012. So you must have been down there and heard one of his programs. And then in 2019, in her column, Wandering and Wandering, like moving around, in York County, Jamie Norpel posted a review of Too Much Ice Cream, Not Enough Paint with the following: fewer York residents live on a farm, but this writer keeps the memories alive. I remember it a number of years ago and confirmed that it was 2023 that the organization Country Schools Association of America, which goes throughout the country and annually over the last 25 years, they've had conferences that delve into the country school. And I remembered that Ginger Shelley, who was at Millersville University as a librarian, and then she was also at Lancaster History Center. So I contacted her just to get the details. And she wrote back to me, I would enthusiastically recommend Roger Wilson for recognition from your organization. He was one of the 12 presenters chosen to address the 2023 annual conference of the Country School Association of America. CSAA is a national organization of academics, historic interpreters, and schoolhouse enthusiasts who have an annual conference in different areas of the country. The 2023 conference was held in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The theme of the conference was Country Schools, the Keystone of American Education. So below is a presentation proposal submitted to CCSA. Roger's presentation was very well received by the audience. I hope this information is of help to you. And then the theme of his was the influence of women teachers in early 20th century. The influence of women teachers who taught for 20, 30, or 40 years, many of those years in one-room schoolhouses. And there will be discussion of the significance of women teachers who taught for decades in one-room schoolhouses in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. These long-term teachers were among the most influential teachers during the years of public school consolidation. They established many teaching and behavioral standards for beginning teachers. What were some of these standards? Well, that would have been discussed there. And then there were photographs of the high school schools that they used that in during that presentation. Okay. Any questions? And Roger will be there for the August. Okay. Am I gonna be there? Yes.
Okay. This time we'll have Becky Roman do our second presentation today for Steve Smith.
I didn't bring examples of Steve's work. I did our other award winner. I think we all are very familiar with him, with all of his, just like June, I will say, there's others in our organization that have such a public presence, bringing history to everyone here in York County. So I will thank Steve for providing me with a bio that I worked with, so it's kind of a tweak of what you sent me, Steve, but just let me read and I'll augment where I can. Stephen H. Smith, or Steve Smith, is a York County native and known to most of us. Of course, is one of the York's past history bloggers, presence on social media with that same blog, author of articles and publications on local history, and is chair of the Spring and Sprague Township Historic Preservation Committee. He, of course, is also a volunteer here at the York County History Center, Library, and Archives. Like so many of us here, his interest in history started in 1992 when he began researching his own family tree. At that time, Steve could only name 3 of his 6 great-grandparents. Through research, both here, of course, then we were at the Historical Society of York County, and at the Historical Society of Lancaster County, he was able to learn the names and some information on all 16 of his great-grandparents. Great-great-grandparents, I should say. Once that goal was accomplished, Steve progressed into discovering the names and history on all of his 32 of his great-great-great-grandparents. But as we all know, research like that can hit dead ends, right? It sounds familiar. With this growing bug in the interest of genealogy and his family history, Steve did attend the National Geological Society conference in 1997, which was held in Davenport, Pennsylvania. There at the conference, through what you learned attending, he discovered ways to better focus and improve his research skills. He then focused on researching the Barshinger family, his mother's family, and preparing the publication Barshinger in America, which got published in 2001, which is here in the library. For that effort, the National Geological Society recognized the book as the top genealogy and family history book in 2002. As are all of his writings, Barshinger in America can be found in this library. Sorry, I beat myself. After finishing all of that research and the publication of the book, Steve returned to research his other families, including his Smith family and his Gilbert family. Though he is not yet finished, as none of us are, right? It never ends. Finish the research on your families. Steve has donated the index notebooks of his research here to the York County History Center Library to augment our family us. After his retirement, I believe this is correct, after his retirement as a mechanical engineer here in York, Steve began volunteering in the library and archives, assisting patrons with family research. And I think I met Steve prior to that. I might have met him in the History Center, but I know I met him as chair of the Spring and Sprague Township Historic Preservation Committee, I believe, over 20 years ago, because my son is 27, it's probably 25 years ago, or at least as a member. Noticing his very good and honed research skills, Lila Foreman-Shaw asked him to assist with research requests, and you may have as well. So, both June and Lila asked him to assist with research requests on family history and genealogy and on local businesses. This work evolved into his extensive local history research and eventually an offer by Jim McClure to join the York Daily Record's York History blog. His York's Past blog, as it was named, began in July 2012 and continues to this day. And it has at least 1,400 posts. I have no idea what you're up to by now, Steve, covering local history to family history, and a lot focused on Spring and Sprague Township, where he lives. Serving as the chair of that township's Historic Preservation Committee. But I don't know, how long, Steve, has it been as you've been chair? I said over 15, but I thought I'd ask you. He has also been, I think, one of our county's greatest advocates for a combination of preservation and outreach, and just bringing the stories of places and families to everyone, especially those in Spring and Sprague Township. He authored the 10-part history of Spring and Sprague Township that can be found linked right on the township's website on the Preservation Committee's webpage. He also writes publications on township history that are then sold by the History Preservation Committee as a fundraiser, and it also assists them to move forward with preservation and history projects on the township. Since 2014, Steve has written articles for the Journal of York County Heritage, published by this organization, the YCHC. In 2020, he authored South Central's publication, special publication 84,
which uses the 1860 census to provide genealogy of Spring Township region, comparing it to Shearer's 1860 map. In addition to the York Past blog posts and publication, Steve shares his knowledge via presentations. These have been since 2003, including several times each year at Spring Township History Night. His present list of 70+ talk topics has been presented multiple times locally. Given all these accomplishments, South Central Pennsylvania Genealogical Society is pleased to award Steve with the Henry James Young Award this year. So mine is briefer, but we want to thank Steve for everything he does for history and genealogy here in York County. Anything I got wrong? Thank you. So I don't know, I have not been here for an awards presentation, so who hands? Is that John?
Okay. Dave, if you want to come up and we'll give you a little certificate. Like they say, the certificate. And 35 cents or what, $1 now will buy a cup of coffee. But this really recognizes all the contributions that Steve has made. He's helped me a couple times. I answered some questions for me, and I've enjoyed his work on, because I live in Spring Township. I enjoy his work on Spring Township. And if you haven't seen our special publications, kind of neat. He took the 1860 map and then did a little research on the different places and some of the things about that. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you like to say something?
I'm honored to receive this award. I admire all these other past recipients, the work that they did. I'd like to share a few things. First of all, the question I often get asked is, where can I get a copy of Parsoners in America? And actually, it's online now at the Internet Archive. That story is kind of neat. I did a talk some time ago at 2 places out in Pittsburgh. And one of the ladies there was visiting her sister, and she went back to Indiana and started a group that took one of my recommendations, that if you're writing a family history book, you might want to look at what are the past award winners from the National Genealogical Society, which is what I did when I wrote my book. That was basically, and well, not the 97 talk, not the 1997 National Genealogical Society meeting at Valley Forge. I was also at the one 2 years later in Richmond, and there are a couple of people there knew I was working on the Parsonier book, and they recommended me look at those past award winners. So that's what I did, and so I got some ideas from them, but I included ideas of my own. And I never expected someone to nominate me for the award. So I was nominated for that award. And I got to talk to one of the judges later on at another family history conference of the National Genealogical Society that they did. And I think that was one in Pittsburgh. And she indicated that basically it's from those nominated, they have 7 regions around the United States that they get the books that are nominated, and they have to pick 1 or 2 if it's kind of a tie of what they think is the best one in their region. And those 7 to 10 books is usually what the national committee gets, and they select the top book. So that's how that award is officially determined. And so I indicated that I looked at the past books, and I think that's a good idea. So she took that idea back to Indiana, and 2 years ago, I got an email from the not the Elkhart, the Eckert Family History, Elkhart Public Library. They have a separate genealogical building. They said a lot of people are using your book out here. They were wondering if it can be put online. They said that the Internet Archives will do that under the Americana kind of branch, And he said, if we do that, people can share it all over the country. So I said, I gave him the permission, and it's now on the Internet Archive. All you have to do is type in Barshingers in America, and that's Barshingers plural, so Barshingers in America in quotes. And it'll be one of the top picks. Just simply see the Internet Archive, and you go right to that book, and that whole book is there for anybody to use across the country and across the world. So that was kind of neat that they basically took what I suggested, and that's how my book ended up on the internet. So I thought it was a neat story. So thank you. Anybody?
I just want to say how much I appreciate that all the work on the schoolhouses, the one-room schoolhouses, and all the details that went into that.
Yeah.
Especially when there's more than one, like a Brenneman school.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know.
Three of them, yeah.
Yes.
And it's like they have one wood, one stone, and one brick.
Yeah.
So when they were looking at the pictures to distinguish which would look like, I got a couple comments about that. I have this Brenneman and it's brick, so I know exactly where that one is and where this, and only two of them exist yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of neat. Any other? Not, thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess this ends the formal presentation. The rest of the meeting is fellowship. We have light refreshments, so please avail yourself of the refreshments.